Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good, good. Well, it's my honor to introduce Lisa Berry. She's the co-owner of Tres Rojas Winery, and it's a wonderful place. I highly recommend you taking time and going out to visit them. They offer a variety of dry and sweet wines here. They're Illinois wines. They have a couple vineyards, and I'm sure she's going to tell you all about it in just a few minutes. They're off Cougar Road in Washington. Lisa is a very busy lady. She has served the trifecta at the Robert Morris University for over 20 years. By trifecta, she means she's been in admissions, administration, and academics. She is currently an adjunct teacher at Green Valley University and the vice president of enterprise sales for VoiceThread. Lisa and her husband met 9 years ago here in Central Illinois. And they have a love for wine, so they decided it was time to open their winery. This is Lisa's full-time side gig. So evenings and weekends, she works at the winery. She does some of the marketing as well as they have rental spaces. So ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce Lisa Berry.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I wish we were in person because I was prepared to bring samples. So maybe next time. So let me know. I wanted to see if I could share my screen here and this presentation for you.
Yep, it's coming through.
All right. All right. Can you see everything? And is our sidebar, let me move the sidebar. All right, so thank you, Robin, for the introduction. And that's exactly how this whole venture began. Bob and I met about 9 years ago. And as we started dating, we realized that we really liked wine. And then our date nights became wine nights. And then whenever we would travel or vacation, we would stop at wineries. And eventually then vacations became a journey to just a wide variety of wineries. And I think between the two of us, we've probably each been to more than 200 wineries in the United States, coast to coast. So Bob grew up in Southern California. His dad actually, when he graduated high school, planted a kiwi farm in Temecula. And had he known better, it would have been grapes, and I would have never met Bob then. So we've always really enjoyed wine. And as we drank wine locally at other vineyards and tasting rooms, we realized that there were a lot of sweet wines that were out there, and our preference really was dry wines. And that's why we started this venture. We wanted to explore making dry wines and bringing more dry wines to Illinois wineries. So actually, let me just move to the next slide. Bob started to make wines in his office at his house, and started with a couple of red wines. He made a Pinot Noir, Malbec, and a Sangiovese. And that's where our name comes from. Tres Rojas means three reds. And those were the first three reds that he started with. So eventually in 2015, he had several, maybe a dozen or so amateur wines. And he called me at work one day and said, I think I'm going to submit these to the Illinois State Fair. And I said, you're crazy. And he said, well, how else are we going to figure out if we just like our wines or if they really are, decent? So he sent them to the Illinois State Fair, the amateur competition, and we came away with 8 medals for the wines. So 2 golds and 6 silvers. And we were really excited about that when we were looking at the results, and decided to put actually a dozen wines into the American Wine Society National Competition for the amateur judging, and came away with a double gold, 8 silvers, and 2 bronze medals. So as amateur winemaker, we figured we had a good shot at making this work for us professionally, and we got our LLC started and filed for all of our paperwork to make wines professionally. And eventually then when our first round of wines were ready, they went to our first professional competition at the Illinois State Fair, and we came away with 6 medals. For us, as we started to file that paperwork and get started, we happened upon a facility in Morton where we can do our wine production on a larger scale, and those are some of the photos in there. So we were inside of the what used to be the Rocky meat packing plant. Right now, Colby Health is in the front, as well as Sandy Glover Real Estate, but we were back in the bowels of the building. We had 2 spaces, one for our tanks, which you can see on the lower left-hand side. And then on the other end of the hallway, we had our storage area. So wines were made in a 20 by 40 area. After bottling, we stored them on the other side. So perfect conditions, great drains in the floor. We really were fortunate to find this space. It was ideal for what we were doing. I do have to laugh because we needed a freezer. Here in the upper corner, Bob had gotten a chainsaw and a freezer for what we needed to do. And I just thought that that picture would be helpful if I ever came up missing, right? Anyway, so all of our permits came through in July of 2016. We reached out for local produce, grapes, fruits. We made a strawberry rhubarb wine as amateurs, and that was super popular. And we reached out to Roth Farms to purchase strawberries to continue to make strawberry wine. And Russ Roth had asked us what we needed all those strawberries for. And we told him we were going to be making wine. And he said, well, we have a vineyard that we haven't really done anything with. They had put it in place to help support Mackinac Valley Winery in the early days, but it had been abandoned for several years. So he said we were welcome to resurrect that vineyard. So actually, that's what the chainsaw was for. It was very overgrown with maple trees and lots of weeds and so forth. And over the summer and into the fall of 2016, we had gotten that vineyard completely resurrected. So this bottom picture here is all of the growth that we had removed with the help of about a dozen friends and several chainsaws. And then this lower picture behind me is the cleaned up vineyard. So that has been in full production for us since 2018. And we did create several estate wines from that vineyard. So several pretty popular wines. While we were looking to open up a tasting room, and ideally, hopefully property where we could have a vineyard, have our production space and our tasting rooms, we just went all out as hard as we could in my spare time with different events and selling wine wholesale. So we were very happy to get our wines into Friar Tuck's and Hy-Vee in Peoria, and several local liquor stores, doing tastings and in these retail venues just to help get our name out. We lived in Morton at the time and were in that Morton production facility. So we participated in First Fridays for a couple of years through the chamber. So for us, that was really helpful to kind of build up a following. And in the meantime, then we were certainly looking for a place to actually call home. If you were paying attention at all to the news, you may be aware that we basically had 3 strikes. We really thought we were out. Our first attempt at property would have been in East Peoria, right here off of Bloomington Road. It was a really cool 10-acre parcel with a ravine area that we wanted to connect to the bike trail and create more of a nature a nature walk, and then have the vineyard here in the back, and then the tasting room. It would have been a very small facility in this, and we really just wanted to make wine and sell wine. We probably wouldn't have been event driven at all in this location. But with zoning, we weren't able to get through the East Peoria Council, so that fell through. Our second attempt was over in Mackinac. That's the upper photo here. This would have been off of King Road and one of the country roads. We would have been about 4 miles north of Mackinac Valley Winery, so it could have been helpful to people who wanted to make a day out of going to wineries and tasting. Again, the zoning committee, we weren't able to work through all of the issues that they wanted to address, and we never really got into the crux of the conversation with Tazewell County to move through on a deal with that space. And then our third strike, if you will, was in Peoria, close to the Heights, right off of Galena Road. We would have been backed up to the Forest View Nature Center, Forest Park, sorry. And again, zoning, construction, we really weren't able to do all of the infrastructure for sewer and electricity and things like that, since we were pretty self-funded in coming through this. When that story hit the newspapers, the city of Washington called my husband the next day and said, we've got a couple of pieces of property that we think might work for you, and we would like to see if we can help you locate a space. They would love to have us here in the city, and that's where we landed, right off of Kruger Road. From the 2 different properties that they presented to us, this one had the best soil, better than any soil at any of the previous 3 locations we were looking at. So we were really pumped. We were able to work with them to be annexed into the city. We're sitting on 51.5 acres right now. So Kruger Road runs here along the north, and then the entry road is alongside of the property line. There is the RC flyer field that the city had been leasing to the Washington RC Club. So that is on our property, and we've maintained their lease, and we will continue to do that. My husband is also an RC flyer, not like he's got the time. So the stripes here all indicate the different grapes that have been planted. We have 11 different varieties in the vineyard. Oops, sorry. 11 different varieties in the vineyard. We have several whites to include Seyval, Traminette, Vignoles, and Lacrosse. And our reds include Leon Mio and Marquette, which are 2 wines that we have in our Pekin vineyard that will now again be estate wines for us. We have St. Croix, Chalois, we have Chancellor, and Landau Noir. So we will have plenty of different wine varieties to explore some blends and see what people really enjoy as their favorites, so that we can continue making them. When we purchased the property, the farmland was still committed to the farmer. He left us a path up the driveway that didn't exist. So that way we can continue to put in the electricity through Ameren. And then they left us a 2-acre spot up here so we can begin preparing the building. So when the corn was harvested, we had the whole property tilled, and we had some road restrictions that wouldn't allow us to get started with the foundation until the following year in 2020. But in March, we got the vineyard laid out. So that's what all of those flags are. Oops, let me go back. All the posts went in. We had some big help from a couple of friends, one in particular who was extremely helpful in helping Bob drop the posts and get those in the ground. From there, then, the first weekend in May, we had close to 60 volunteers come out and help us on a Saturday and Sunday, planting over 4,000 vines. It was quite a party. All the holes for the plants were pre-drilled with our tractor and auger. So that way our volunteers can just come in, drop the vines in the ground, cover them up, and then somebody came behind them and put those orange tubes around them to help protect them for the first year. So over the course of 3 days, we had over 7 acres of vines planted. So it was quite an accomplishment, and it was a really, really good time. It was fun to see families come out. We had some little kids even helping. It was totally a blast. This is that's me out in the vineyard and our former winery dog. We've since lost him, unfortunately. Here's just an up close look at the vines. The very first spring, they were already coming out of the tubes and up onto the wires. So with the road restrictions, we couldn't get a concrete truck out there until April, mid-April. So the foundation, the footings had gone in the previous fall. The foundation was actually poured in April, and then the framing in the building began in May, mid-May. We worked with Raglan Builders, and we met so many of the local contractors that were a part of putting the building together. So that was super cool to provide opportunities and meet people in the area. We did all the finishing work inside and the painting ourselves, and by the end of October, we were able to end our lease at the Morton production facility and move all of our tanks over, all of our inventory. And so that was then sitting in the building by November 2020. Going through all of the paperwork to actually open our doors. We had our certificate of occupancy in December, and our grand opening was a very soft opening on December 11th of 2020. So we had patio seating only. With COVID, we were able to allow people to order their wines at the bar and take them outside. We had erected some barriers to help block the wind. We are on a very windy hill, that is for sure. So you can see patio heaters are out there. Right now, our patio has about seating for 80 between tables and picnic tables. You can see that and umbrellas. We have a gorgeous view looking to the west. We get some amazing sunsets out there. Inside, the tasting room has seating for 60 with our regular tables and chairs. The event space that Robin had mentioned, when that's set up, it can have occupancy for 90 with round tables and chairs. So we have had a number of wedding rehearsal dinners, events and parties and so forth. I'll come back to this slide here in just a quick second. We've had different fundraisers that have been inside and out. We've offered dance lessons. We did a 5K run on Labor Day weekend last year. That was a complete blast. We've had food trucks, and we've had music on the patio every weekend since May. So as we came around this first year, we are just so thankful to all of the support that we've had from the people that have been with us from the very beginning as we were aspiring to open this tasting room, but the people that we've met along the way, and lots of folks that have been regulars. We're really thankful to call friends, because it's always a good time when they come in to get to visit. Just to give you a glimpse of our wine menu, I'm just going to click on this. It'll take us to our website here. So the wines that we do provide, we do have a really hearty dry wine menu. So these are our reds and whites. We just have a few bottles left of Merlot. So when we get to open our doors tomorrow, once the roads are clear, you may want to come in and try that. We've run out, honestly, we've run out of our wines a little bit faster than we've expected. That the demand for our wines, it's difficult to keep up because wine takes time. It's not like brewing beer where within a couple of weeks it's in the can and on the shelves and ready to go. Wine can take a couple of months to a year or more. The Chamberson that we just released had actually sat in our tank for a little over a year before it became more than just meh. All of a sudden, it just seemed to really come together and gel, and it's really a very nice medium-bodied wine that just over time, if it lasts that long, I think is going to be spectacular. We do have some friends at Misty Hill Winery, which is actually near Kankakee. We were so low on our dry red inventory that we tasted all of their wines, and we really enjoyed their Petite Pearl and their St. Croix. Petite Pearl is limited, but we do make wine with our St. Croix, so we thought that would be a good fit as well. You may want to come in and try those. They do a really nice job. They are at Misty Hill, where we were a couple of years ago. At this point, it's just building material costs that's preventing them from standing up their tasting room. So I will say, Bob and I have found everybody in the winemaking industry really collaborative, super helpful, and it's a pretty cool, tight-knit community of vineyard growers and winemakers. So we're, again, very pleased to be in this industry. We do pull in grapes locally. Since we haven't had a whole lot of our own resources, we should have the vineyard up in full production by next summer. But this year we'll get a partial harvest, which will be more than enough to fill the tanks that we currently have. So our future operations are going to include increasing our tank space and our racking system for inventory, so that we can keep up with the demand that we're seeing just as we open the doors. We do bring in produce, or rather juice, from California. So we do make California wines. You see the Merlot, you see the Pinot Noir, the Chardonnay, etc. We do have a Riesling on the menu as well. So lots of dry whites. We do provide some semi-sweet great wines. So our Dama is a light red wine blend. Our V Squared and our Glacial White and Vino Dorado are all local Illinois grapes that are semi-sweet to sweet. And then, of course, we do have some fruit wines, strawberry, blackberry, and blueberry tart with fresh blueberries from Michigan is definitely one of my favorites. In fact, my daughter had us make it in small bottles for table favors at her wedding a couple years ago. We do have a strawberry rhubarb wine, Rhuberry, we call it. It's seasonal, it's really popular, and it goes out the door like that. So we're going to have an extra large batch this spring so we can have it this summer. We do provide beer. We do partner with Little Beaver Brewery out of Bloomington, so we can have some craft beer on hand. We do have some domestic beers, hard ciders and seltzers at times. We do have a slushy machine that's on our counter from May through September. So we do provide wine slushies as well as non-alcoholic slushies. We do see a lot of families come out to the winery. We've got some great green space. So between slushies, Jones sodas, and bottled water, there's something for everybody. We don't have a kitchen at the winery, but we do provide pizzas. We do provide Butch's pizzas. Cheese, we make cheese plates. We've got chocolates from a local bakery in Morton, as well as some chocolates from Indiana that I'll be putting out this year. But our guests are welcome to bring in their own foods, snacks. I've got a few regulars that bring their picnic basket. One guy even brings his little pizza cutter because he likes it in strips. So it's been really a joy just to meet people and see them and enjoy themselves with their own family and friends and make some memories with us here at the winery. What questions could I answer for you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, great presentation. Thank you. What's your season? When will you start up, or when? I mean, are you open now? What are your hours, and when can we come out and see you?
Sure. So we are open in our winter hours, and that will be Wednesday and Thursday from noon to 5, Friday and Saturday noon to 6, and Sunday noon to 5. We closed for the month of January, and we planned to open this week Wednesday, but of course, Mother Nature had a say. So the wine tree is gone. We'll be moving into later hours in May through October. So we'll be open till 6 Wednesday and Thursday, till 8 o'clock at night, Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday noon to 5. So those are tasting room hours. We have events that take place outside of those public tasting room hours. The event room is available for rental for your own celebration, retirement, anniversary. We've had a couple of actual full-blown weddings with ceremonies done in the vineyard. You can see the vineyard behind me in my screen. We carved out an alcove so that on 3 sides, the wedding party can be surrounded by vines with a beautiful view and sunsets to the west. So we've been working with Create a Scene out of Washington, and they partner with American Rentals. So they've been outfitting the brides with tablecloths and decorations and backdrops and things like that. So events can bring in their own caterers since we don't have a kitchen. I'm not particular on what caterer anyone would care to use, and that is allowing us to meet who's out there to come in and get familiar with our space for setup. And
Jim Barrick in?
Nobody has had them out yet, but I am looking forward to that. And Jim, I know that you have 2 events already booked coming up. Awesome. So I know that you and I believe Carol have asked about some more information. So I look forward to meeting you guys in person.
We did have one question online that was what does snow like that we've had, what does that do to the fields?
So vines are dormant right now, so there isn't any impact at all. We probably won't see bud break until April. We're just crossing our fingers that we don't have a late frost. That's actually kind of hurt us the last couple of years. The grain field applications in the area, yeah, there are definitely some chemicals that are on the, hang on one second, Bob, what's that called? The no drift? The no drift watch. So dicamba and 2,4-D, those can really injure the vines when they're in their bud break and their blossom stage. So we just ask that the area farmers around us pay attention to that, the wind direction and their applications. Oh yeah, tomorrow we'll be open. Today, Kruger Road, even though it had been plowed, the wind is coming from the north and it's really just drifting. And so it's pretty treacherous. So we decided not to put anybody in harm's way today. We do have a Cabernet, Kim. It's actually, we're going to be bottling it probably within this next month. If for any of you that are interested in helping us bottle, it's a really fun time. I will say that we bottled over 1,000 cases this past year, and that's been with the help of all of our customers that we've met along the way that have come in. Bottling takes maybe a couple, 3 hours, 4 hours. And it's really just, it's fun work. The music is jamming and the wine is moving around. You get to taste it while we're bottling. So